22. Well, you're going to need a bigger boat, and let me explain what I mean by that. I'm going to share some slides from Goldman Sachs Asset Management, which really put into hard data what I always believed. And I'm going to share these on screen with you now. It's their 2021 survey, so very useful for 2022 because obviously you've got a whole 12 months worth of data. So looking at that, what's the best advice I can give you so you can be as rich as a Goldman Sachs client? Well, anyway, they went through this many respondents. You can pause the video and have a look if you wish. That doesn't really matter. What matters is the findings, which is this. Did you retire when planned? I've got bad news for you. A lot of people ended up retiring earlier, and that's not because they were rich. You're going to see in this survey many times that retirement came early because it was forced on them. Now, how strongly do the below affect your ability to save for retirement at the moment? Well, guess what's hindering your plans to retire early? And let's assume you do want to retire early, or at least voluntarily have the choice of when to retire. Credit card debt, paying down existing loans, saving for college, all sorts of various things. So we've got to find a way of planning for these, certainly in 2022, but planning early. That's a key tenet of this research. What concerns, if any, do you have entering retirement? Well, these are things we're going to have to plan for as well. And let me tell you what the bottom line is. The bottom line is you're going to need a bigger boat. You're going to need more money, and you're going to need it sooner because retirement's going to hit you with more worries, which you don't want to have. So we've got to plan early. So we better start saving early. And for me, that means ISAs, SIPs, and maxing out those allowances to the best of my ability. Now, I happen to be married to a Punjabi, and she keeps telling me Punjabis love partying. They love living in the moment. I'm Gujarati, and she goes, you Gujaratis, you're always planning for the future. You're always saving. You never spend money. You're renowned for being tightwads. Well, we'll see who's right in a few years. Which of the following, if any, are concerns you have about retirement at the moment? So these are your concerns. You're not the only one. There's a lot of people in the boat with you who have got these concerns. Future healthcare, okay, potential reduction in social security benefits, inflation concerns. Now, remember, this was from Goldman Sachs, and even well, it's not just their clients, even their respondents had regular concerns like social security benefits becoming a financial burden on the family. These are concerns you have. Don't just bury your head in the sand in the new year. The best way to deal with these concerns is start saving a bit more than you thought you needed and start saving sooner. So I said those were the respondents. That's the age group. Some of them were retired. Some of them are working. How old were you when you retired? Well, the vast majority, as you will know, are 60 to 64. Maybe 2022 is your year. Maybe you're in your 50s. Well, one thing I can say is it's never going to be too early to start saving and planning and investing for the future in your SIP, your ISA. Now, if your employer's putting money towards your pension, you might still have a top up you can make to that pension. Why is adding money into a SIP a good idea? Well, because it's tax free. Okay, and you're saving for the future and avoiding some of these issues. How old were you when you retired? Guess what? People are generally younger than you might have thought when they retired. As I said, pause the screen if you wish on any of this. What's the primary reason you retired? Wasn't always out of choice. Needed due to health reasons is the number one reason. Nobody plans for that. Okay, so it's the unexpected. It's the best way to give yourselves options when the unexpected hits, to have a war chest of capital set aside. So top up that SIP. You can find out from your employer or the HR department how much more you can contribute to the maximum annual allowance. And then if you've got the extra money, put it into that. Then you've got to work out what to do with it. Well, this is the bit that gets complicated. If you give it to an IFA who then just takes out fees, or you give it to fund managers who don't perform, then you've got a separate problem. So you might even just leave it in cash. Well, guess what? Inflation will eat that away. My personal choice, and this is not suitable, it's for everyone, it's not financial advice to everyone. Generally, as a rule, I tend to shove it into Microsoft as things go. But of course, I've got more investment ideas than that. But I find that when I get family members asking me, I say, look, lower volatility and pretty solid. Now, I'm not going to shove it into blooming Bitcoin or something like that. Younger workers may need to adjust their retirement assumptions, in other words, because younger workers often don't realize they end up having to retire later. So you've got these two problems: forced into early retirement or forced into later retirement. Those retiring when they planned are relatively few. You want to have the choice. You want to have the choice. Now, health, I can't give you so much information and advice on, but money buys you choice. And the best way to build that capital is to start saving it sooner. And like I said, look up SIPs, ISAs, look at my campaign for $1 million.com. We've got a lot of free education and information there as well. Employer retirement programs are the most used source of retirement education. Well, speaking of education, it's worrying how many people are using friends and peers. Could be okay. Employer financial wellness programs. We need more of those, I would have thought. Spouse. Well, if you're married to me, then that should be all right as a source of financial information. But you really need to up your financial education. That's the bottom line. Managing other factors impacting retirement savings has grown significantly across generations. But credit card debt, get rid of it if at all you can. Okay. Paying down existing loans, student loans, and the type, and you can see the other things there. Your worries are shared by others. And because of that, you really want to start again. I'm going to sound like a broken record. You want to start soon. You want to start early with that, with the funding on those things. Okay. Caregiving, time away from the workforce for caregiving, again, usually is unexpected, and that causes people to fall behind. Bottom line, you're going to need more money than you thought. You're going to need a bigger boat because of those uncertainties of life. Somebody passes away, ill health, or somebody else's ill health, which impacts you having to leave the workforce. I don't want to scare you. I don't want to ruin your 2022, but forewarned is forearmed, and life will be a hell of a lot easier and you'll sleep easier at night having planned sooner. Financial hardships, a fact of life. Yeah. For the vast majority of people, it's the unexpected financial hardships, and you can read them there. Okay. There are times when you've had to stop saving. So thank God there were times when you could save. You did do it. You mended the roof when the sun was shining. Okay. COVID impact on retirement savings. COVID, nobody saw that coming. And guess what? It's impacted a lot of people in terms of debts. It's been beneficial to some. They've managed to save a lot of money, maybe 20, 30 grand in 2 years worth of holidays that they were blowing it on before. Well, don't just decide to blow it on more clothes. Instead, you might find it a good time to put some money aside, have it grow in your SIPs and ISAs for that reason. Okay. And it's impacted other people's timelines as well. So instead of just sitting there worrying about it, take some actionable steps. Find out how much excess capital you've got. Hopefully you do have some and you're not living hand to mouth. Put it into that SIP, put it into that ISA, learn about those things. Like I said, look at my campaign for $1million.com to get some more free education. Most important aspects of retirement planning according to those in retirement. What one aspect do you think is the most important aspect of retirement planning? The most important aspect of retirement planning and the percentage is determining how much money I would need to retire. That's the most important. Creating a strategy that allows you to balance short-term needs and long-term retirement goals. I'm afraid you're going to have to do some maths. Look at your incomes. Look at expenditures. Nobody likes to look at expenditures. I know that. Nobody likes to be reminded how little income they've got. Planning for healthcare needs, planning for financial emergencies. Okay, make sure you get all that set aside. What concerns, if any, did you have entering retirement? Leaving a steady paycheck, having sufficient savings, healthcare needs. You're not the only one with these worries at 3 a.m. So instead of burying head in sand, deal with them in 2022 by, as I said, leaving aside some capital. Relative importance of income features, consistent, stable income. Of course, everybody loves that. That's why there's so few entrepreneurs in the world and so many people in jobs. Ability to generate income that is not guaranteed, but provides flexibility to access savings throughout retirement. And of course, there's a complicated calculation to be had based on how long are you going to live, how much money might you need, how much of the capital might you want to draw down, as little as possible for as long as you don't need it, and how much income can that generate. Obviously, if you're 99, then drawing down capital is not a bad thing to do. If you're 60, drawing down capital, unless you've got tons of it, is bad. So where's that balance? Well, it can be quite complicated to work out, and it does need pen, paper, and a thinking cap. Which of the following ways do you prefer to receive or generate retirement income? Of course, we all like stable and consistent incomes, but failing that, at least if our portfolio of investments is growing, not high risk stuff. If it's growing, then at least we can get some income out of the growth that's happened. So if something grows, I don't know, 20% in a year, then out of that growth, you could treat that like income and take a bit of that out during the course of the year without impacting your original capital. So your capital remains untouched and your growth element becomes what you draw down as income. So you're not relying on a paltry dividend yield from a stock of 1%. Okay. Relative to what you anticipated or plan to be spending in retirement, do you spend more or less money? Well, 41% said they spend less than they anticipated, which might be good that they're spending less. They needed less. But you need to have choices. To have choices means to have less worry. To have less worry means making sure you've planned for more capital set aside. Which of the following ways do you prefer to receive or generate income in retirement? Investment solutions, part-time work, rental income, annuity, other. So for a lot of people, it's going to be investment solutions or part-time work. Well, let's just assume you can't get part-time work. Treat that as icing on the cake. Investment solutions. And that, obviously, for somebody like me, means investing in relatively low volatility, safe stocks, which as they grow, I can take some capital out and that growth compounds. Healthcare, reductions in Social Security and inflation are top concerns. So these are your main concerns. I want you to know that others are in the same boat, okay? They also have the same concerns you do, because I think a problem shared is a problem halved. So it's good to know. Retirement, monitoring, activity, level of comfort, assessing retirement needs, very comfortable, somewhat comfortable, neither, somewhat uncomfortable. Let's make sure you're not in the very uncomfortable, not in the somewhat uncomfortable, not in the neither. We want you in the somewhat comfortable category, okay? Or even ideally very comfortable. And you can see there's a disparity between men and women. We really need the women catching up. Well, they earn less, therefore they've got less money for their retirement, which makes it even more important that they save more, I'm afraid, and that they start sooner because they've got less to work with. So, yeah, it's unfair, but that's the case. And here are some of the conclusions. Financial resiliency, financial literacy, health impacts, managing retirement savings as well. So, hopefully that's given you an insight. Like I said, the bottom line, broken record, sounds dull. Start sooner, especially if you're a woman. Learn about ISAs, SIPs, saving tax-free. And you're going to need more than you thought, because you might end up, due to unforeseen circumstances, retiring later or retiring sooner. Life doesn't end up as you planned, sadly. But I do wish you a very prosperous 2022 and a very prosperous retirement as well. So thank you very much for watching this. Don't forget also to look at campaignforamillion.com. That's the free education I'm providing, and webinars and updates on all of these kinds of things to keep you better informed so you have a better, more comfortable retirement wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much.